The human voice. It's the instrument we all play. It's the most powerful sound in the world, probably. It's the only one that can start a war or say,
The
I love
human
you.
voice
And yet many people have the
is one of the
experience that when they
most
speak,
powerful
people don't
instruments in
listen
the
to them.
world.
Why is that?
Yet many
How can
people
we speak
notice that when they
powerfully
speak,
to make
people
change
aren't
in the
listening
world?
to them.
Well, I'd like to
So how can we
suggest there
speak
are a number of
powerfully
habits that we need to move away
make
from.
change in the
I've
world?
assembled for your pleasure here
I
7 deadly
suggest
sins of
that
speaking. I'm not
we
pretending this is an
change certain
exhaustive
habits.
list, but
There's a
these
list
7 I
of
think are pretty
7
large.
habits
The
that
habits that we can all
need to
fall
work
into.
on.
First,
The first is gossip.
speaking ill of somebody who's not present.
Should
Not
not
a nice
speak
habit,
ill
and
of
we
someone
know
who's
perfectly well
not
the person gossiping
present.
5 minutes later will be gossiping about us. Second, judging.
The
We
second
know people who
is
are like
judging.
this in conversation, and it's very hard to listen to somebody if you know that you're being judged
It's
and
difficult
found wanting at the same
to listen
time.
to someone if you know that you're
Third,
being
negativity.
judged.
You can fall into this.
The
My
third
mother in
is
the last years of her
negativity.
life became very, very negative, and it's hard to listen. I remember
For
one day I said
example,
to her,
my mother
it's
in
October
the
the 1st
later
today, and
years
she
of
said,
her
I know,
life
it was
became very
dreadful.
negative, and it was difficult to listen to her.
It's hard to listen when somebody's that negative. And another form of negativity, complaining. Well, this is
Complaining
the
is another
national
form of
art
negativity,
of the UK.
as common as it
It's our
may
national
be.
sport. We complain about the weather, about sport, about politics, about everything. But actually, complaining is viral misery. It's not spreading sunshine and lightness in the world. Excuses. We've all met this guy. Maybe we've all been this guy. Some people
are
have
another
a
bad
blame thrower.
habit.
They just
Some
pass it on to
people
everybody else and don't take responsibility for their
pass
actions. And
blame
again,
onto
hard to listen
everybody
to
else
somebody
and
who's
take
being like that.
responsibility for nothing. It's very
Penultimate, the
difficult
6th
to
of the
listen
7,
to.
embroidery, exaggeration.
Embroidery,
It demeans our
exaggeration
language,
are yet
actually,
another bad
sometimes.
habit.
For example, if I see something that really is awesome, what do I call it?
It takes away from the weight of what you're saying.
And then, of course, this exaggeration becomes lying, out and out lying, and we don't
Eventually,
want to listen to people
exaggeration
who know are lying to us.
becomes lying, and we
And
don't want to listen
finally,
to people who are lying to
dogmatism.
us. Finally, the last
confusion
bad
of
habit
facts
is
with
dogmatism.
opinions. When those two things get conflated, you're listening into the wind. You know, somebody is bombarding you with their opinions as if they were true. It's difficult to listen to that.
It's hard
So
to
here
listen
they
to
are,
someone who
7
is
deadly sins of
presenting
speaking.
you their
These are
opinions
things
as if
I
they
think
were
we need to
facts.
avoid. But is there a positive way
Each
to
one
think
of
about
these
this?
habits needs
Yes,
to be
there is.
avoided.
I'd like to
Is there a
suggest
positive
that there are
twist to
4
this?
really powerful
Yes.
cornerstones,
There are
foundations
4
that we
very
can stand on if we want our
positive
speech to be powerful
habits
and to
that
make
we can
change in the
use to make
world.
our speech
Fortunately,
powerful
these things spell
and
a
to make
word.
change.
The word is hail, and
These
it has a
4
great
things
definition as well.
make
I'm not
a
talking about the
word.
stuff that falls from the sky and hits you
The
on the
word
head.
is hail,
I'm talking about this
not
definition, to
as of
greet
hail
or
from the
acclaim
weather,
enthusiastically, which is, I think, how our words will be
but
received
hail by the
if we stand on these
definition of
4
greet
things. So
or
what do they
acclaim
stand for? See if you can
enthusiastically.
guess. The H,
Hail stands
honesty,
for
of course.
honesty,
Being true in what you say, being straight and clear. The A is authenticity.
authenticity.
Just being yourself. A friend of mine described it as standing in your own truth, which I think is a lovely way to put it. The I is integrity.
Integrity.
Being your word, actually doing what you say, and being somebody people can trust. And the L is love.
L stands for
I don't mean romantic love, but I do mean
Now,
wishing
this does
people
not
well.
mean romantic
For 2
love,
reasons. First of all, I think
but
absolute
wishing the
honesty may
best
not
for
be what we
people.
want. I mean, my goodness, you look ugly this morning.
Of course,
Perhaps
being
that's
totally
not necessary.
honest isn't
Tempered
necessary.
with love, of course, honesty is a great thing. But
You
also,
need
if you're
to
really wishing
put
somebody
love
well,
in
it's
with your
very hard to
honesty.
judge them at the same time.
Of course,
I'm not even
if
sure you can do
you
those
are
2
wishing
things
the best for someone,
simultaneously. So hail.
it's very difficult
Also,
to be
now
judging them
that's
at the
what you
same
say, and it's
time.
like the old song, it is what you say, it's also the way that you say it. You
Now,
have
what
an
you say is
amazing
important, but
toolbox.
it's
This
also the way that
instrument
you
is
say it.
incredible, and yet
Fortunately,
this is a
there are
toolbox
also
that very
tools
few
that
people
we
have ever
have
opened. I'd like to have a
to
little
make what we
rummage in there
say
with you now. Just pull
more
a few tools
effective.
out that you might like to take away and play with, which will increase the power of your speaking.
These tools include
Register, for example.
register,
Now, falsetto register may not be very useful most
speaking
of the time.
in a very high
But
voice
there's a register in
is
between.
not often
I'm not going to get
useful.
very technical about this for any of you who are voice coaches. You can locate your voice, however. So if I talk up here in my nose, you can hear the difference. If I go down here in my throat, which is where most of us speak from most of the time. But if you want weight, you need to go down here to the chest. You hear the difference?
If you want to speak with authority,
We vote
you
for
need to speak
politicians with lower voices.
low, deep
It's
down
true.
in your voice.
Because we associate
This is the way
depth with
most
power
politicians
and
speak,
with
because
authority.
Most people
That's
associate
register.
depth with
And we have
authority
timbre.
and power.
It's the way your voice feels.
Another
Again,
tool
the research
is
shows that we prefer voices which
timbre.
are rich, smooth, warm, like hot chocolate.
Research has proven
Well, if
that we
that's not
prefer
you,
voices like hot chocolate,
that's not the end of the world.
rich,
Because you can
smooth, and
train.
warm.
Go and get a voice coach.
You can
And there are
train your
amazing things you
voice
can do
with
with
a voice
breathing, with
coach.
posture, and with exercises
And
to improve
things
the
such
timbre
as
of your voice.
breathing and posture can
Then prosody.
improve
I
or
love
change the
prosody.
timbre
This is
of
the
your
sing-song,
voice.
the meta-language that we use in order to
Another
impart
tool
meaning.
is
It's root
prosody.
one for meaning in
Prosody is
conversation.
the sing-song
People who speak
aspect
all on
to
one
speaking.
note are really quite hard to listen to
People
if they
who
don't
speak
have any
all on
prosody
one
at all.
note are very
That's
difficult
where
to
the
listen
word
to.
monotonic comes from, or monotonous,
They are
monotone.
monotonic.
Also, we have repetitive prosody now coming in,
There's also
where every sentence ends as if it
repetitive
were a question,
prosody,
when it's actually
such
not a
as
question,
when
it's a
people
statement.
speak and it sounds as if every statement they make is
And
a
if
question,
you repeat that one
when in
over and over,
reality
it's
it's not a
actually
question.
restricting your ability to communicate through
Doing
prosody,
this
which I
actually
think is a shame.
restricts
So let's
your
try and break
ability
that habit.
to communicate.
Pace. I can get very, very excited by saying something really, really quickly, or I can
Pace is
slow
another
right
effective
down
tool.
to emphasize.
Speaking very
And at the end
quickly
of
adds
that,
a lot
of
of
course, is our old friend,
excitement. Speaking very
silence.
slowly adds a lot of depth to what you're saying.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of silence.
There's also
in a talk, is there?
silence. Silence is not
We don't have to fill
necessarily a
in
bad
lungs
thing.
and
It
R's.
doesn't have to be filled up
Can
at
be
all
very
times.
powerful. Of course, pitch often goes along with pace to indicate arousal, but you can do it just with pitch. Where did you leave my keys? Where did you leave my keys?
Pitch
It's a slightly
indicates
different
excitement.
meaning
You can
in those
change
two
the meaning of a
deliveries.
sentence based
And
on the
finally,
pitch
volume.
of each delivery.
I can get really
The
excited
last tool is
by
volume.
using volume. Sorry about that if I startled anybody. Or I can have you really pay attention by getting very quiet.
The quieter your voice is,
Some
the
people
more you force
broadcast
people
the
to pay
whole time.
attention to
Try
you.
not to do that. That's called
Usually,
softcasting.
people broadcast themselves at all times
Imposing
or
your
speak very
sound on people
loudly.
around you
It's called
carelessly and
sodcasting.
inconsiderately. Not nice.
You are
Of course,
essentially
where this all comes into
imposing
play
your
most of all
sound on other
is when you've
people.
got something really important to do. It might be standing on a stage like this and giving a
Now,
talk
where
to
all of
people.
these
It
things
might be proposing
come most
marriage,
into use is when you
asking
have
for a
something important
raise,
to say and
a
you need
wedding
to get
speech,
it
whatever
across
it is.
effectively.
If it's really important, you owe it to yourself to look at this toolbox and the
If what you have to say is very important, such as a marriage proposal, asking for a raise, or giving a wedding speech, you owe it to yourself to practice the way that you speak and to use your tools so that the message you are trying to convey is conveyed effectively.